Hello everybody, this is Classic Rock Kid Julian here. Apologies if there's any background noise. The air conditioner is on because it's been about 100 degrees out for the last week. The joys of living in Southern California, what can I say? Anyway, so this is Weekly Gear Talk number 2. I got a very positive response to the first episode, so I'm very happy to make another one here. And I had a request to talk about some of the stuff I use for recording, and I figured that I should probably start with today's items, really, there's 3 of them, because they are extremely important to how I record right now. So what I have here are 3 pedals made by Joyo. Now, I showed this one in my video last week because I used it with the Telecaster to show off the different sounds that it could do, but it's time to dedicate an episode to this one and its brethren down here. So this is the ACTone. Forgive me, I don't remember the exact model number. It may be something like JF16, or this one might be a 13 and one of the others is 16. I don't really remember. But anyway, so this is a Vox AC30 inside a pedal. It's solid state, but it responds really nicely to guitars and pedals, about like you would want a nice Vox tube amp to do. So the really crucial thing about this is that it's a top boosted Vox circuit, which is exactly the kind of amp that I like to use. Now, I saw this on Reverb once, oh man, I think it was back in May or something, and I was like, oh, really? A Vox in a box? This sounds okay. And I went and looked up a video demo, and somebody just plugged it directly into their recording console, and it sounded fantastic. I said, okay, yeah, I'll have to get it. So I think this one was about $28 on Reverb, plus a little bit for shipping. And I got it, and I was just blown away with how good it is at sounding like a real AC30. But the real key to this pedal and this series is the voice knob, because that lower middle knob there controls speaker emulation. So when you plug this directly into a recording console, it sounds like you have a microphone put up to the speaker cabinet on a Vox. And the voice knob has a lot of variables that you can do. If you turn it all the way down like this, to me it sounds like just a direct input line, which is good if you want to maybe plug it into an amplifier or into another preamp or something. About in the middle is usually where I keep it, because to me that sounds like a good, like a Celestian blue loaded cabinet. And if you turn it all the way to the right, then it sounds like Dave Davies' shredded up speaker from You Really Got Me, which is quite a useful sound to have on hand, actually. But anyway, I was so impressed with this Vox pedal when I got it that I immediately went out and looked to see if Joyo made other ones, which they do. I've got 2 of the other ones here. This is the American sound, and this one is the British sound. Now, there are 2 more which I don't own. I'll show pictures of them, I believe. One of them is called the California, and one of them I think is called the Heavy Metal. So these are all based on specific amps. So the American sound is a Fender Deluxe, a Tweed Deluxe. And then the British, I think, is a little less specific, unless I just didn't do my research well enough. But I get it to sound about like a JTM 45 Blues Breaker. Now, the other 2 that they make, the California is supposed to be a Mesa Boogie sound, and the Heavy Metal, I have no idea. Honestly, I don't know what it's supposed to be. But neither of those are really my speed. These are really what I wanted. But the reason that I got these 3, the AC, the British, and the American, is because That right there covers pretty much every amp sound that I'm ever going to need for recording, apart from one, which I'll get to in another episode, that does a high watt sound, but it's not from this series. Most of the time, I use the ACTone because I'm a Vox player in real life. My main amp is an AC10, which is really just an AC30, but slightly quieter. Though not much, it will still rip your head off if you're in a small room. But I decided, I want Fender and Marshall sounds sometimes to do specific things for certain songs or certain guitars, or just have a different sound. So I said, okay, I'll get a Fender for, another $30 and a Marshall for another $25. There's nothing much to lose there. As for the quality of the pedals, they're very nice to hold. They've got a nice metal case, nice firm plastic backing, very good quality overall. The only possible complaint I would have about them is that I don't think the bypass is very clean, because I once tried to rig up these two in series and shoot them out, but the one that came after sounded very muffled, so I think that their bypass is not the cleanest, and it kind of cuts a bunch of your high end. So that's something to be careful about, but if you're using this as a recording amplifier, then it's probably going to just stay on, so that doesn't make it a huge deal. As for what you have heard them in so far, really I've only used these on the Ozymandias cover that's been released so far. I have a bunch of projects in the works that are using these, because these are now my go-tos for guitar recording. The Ozymandias, I believe the Telecaster did a lot of the rhythm work, and that was through the Vox pedal and a fuzz face. And then the lead guitar was using a Univox Super Fuzz and the Fender sound to get just a nice clean bass for the Super Fuzz to cut through. I'm actually currently working on something that heavily uses the British pedal as a Marshall Blues Breaker, actually to play stuff by the guy who gave it that name, but I hope that's not giving too much away. I like all of these pedals. I'm very happy that I own all three of them. Of the three, I would have to say that the ACTone is my favorite, but that's just because I'm used to Voxes. Second place would have to go to the British, because I like Marshall sounds, and I've got some guitars that work really nicely with those. Third place is the American, but a lot of that has to do with the fact that I have almost no real-world experience with Fender amplifiers. Apart from a few times, maybe 5 years ago, when I went into a guitar store and played a Telecaster through like a Blues DeVille or something, I just haven't really used Fender amps, and I've never used a 57 Tweed Deluxe. So I don't really know how to make this do what I want. I think I'll demonstrate this later. I can get a pretty good kind of blues rock sound out of this one, but it's going to take me some time to play around with the Fender and really get the kind of sounds I want out of it. I have a much easier time with the Vox because I'm just so used to it that I can just kind of flip the settings and get a sound that I'm used to. Alright, so now that we've talked about these pedals, which seem to be getting closer all the time, I'm going to demonstrate them for you, so let's get into it. Alright, well, we've got inferior audio quality because my mic's no longer plugged in, but thank you for joining me for Weekly Gear Talk number 2. I hope you enjoyed this one as much as the last, and as usual, let me know what you thought, anything you'd like to see for the next episode, and I'll see you again soon.